Alright everyone, today's lesson is on graphing, and our learning target is I can use collected data to make a graph. So we first want to figure out why we would make a graph, okay? So we got some data for you on a hurricane, and it's Hurricane Harvey. And we just want to take a look at it here. So this happened in 2017 in August, and if we scroll down, we just got all of these numbers and all of this data here for us. And that went on for quite a bit of time. We got time, latitude, longitude, wind, pressure, storm type. We got all this information for you. And if you were handed over this file, you'd probably be thinking, what do I do with this information? But when we take and we put it in a visual like this, you're probably thinking in your brain, wow, that makes a lot more sense, okay? Maybe you don't know about the wind speed right now or the pressure, but maybe some of these colors would indicate that to us. So this technically, this map is a graph, it's a picture of our data, and that is just so much easier to look at and to understand. So why we graph is really to help our data make more sense to us, okay? So when we talk about graphing itself, you do have some options. You know, we could initially say to you, make a bar graph, which I'm sure some of you have made before. This helps you compare data really quickly, right? So we have a key here. This is first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and you're looking at some sort of number set, okay? We don't have our variables labeled here on the y-axis, but we know that we're comparing 3 different things in 4 different units of time, okay? So bar graph is going to help us just get a quick visual of those types of things. Pie graphs, this is more like a percentage, right? Because the whole is 100%, and then we have a key over here, and then it's going to tell us what percent of that whole we're looking at, okay? So maybe sometimes your data would be best visualized as a pie graph, but most of the time in science, we're going to use line graphs, okay? So when we tell you to graph, unless we explicitly state otherwise, we're going to expect that you make a line graph, okay? And in science, and especially earth science, this is what we're typically going to use. So you could either have one line on your graph, or you could have many. If you do have many lines, then you're going to want a key, of course, indicating which is what's the difference between those lines, okay? We always need a title. We always want to label our axes, and then, like we said, we might need a legend if we have more than one line, okay? So what we're going to look at today is just a quick graph, and you're going to see graphs a lot in your Regents exam, so you got to really understand these terms. We're going to use them throughout the whole entire year. So a variable is a factor that changes. Time, temperature, pressure, these things are changing all the time, and it makes sense to put them on a graph, right? Hurricane Harvey had latitude and longitude. That's a variable too, right? Independent and dependent variables do different things, right? So independent variable is going to always be plotted on the x-axis, which is your horizontal axis on the bottom. Dependent variables are going to be plotted on the y-axis, that's the vertical axis on the side, okay? And obviously, dependent depends on the independent variable, okay? So typically, we're going to see time on the independent variable. So let's take a quick look at this graph, okay? This is our x-axis at the bottom, and the variable is months, okay? This is our independent variable. Months do their own thing. They just continue to go on, right? Temperature is dependent upon the month here, right? It's plotted on the y-axis. So in January, this temperature is 30. That's our reading right now, and that was dependent upon the month of January, right? Okay, whereas here we are in August, warmest temperature up here towards the 70s, that was dependent upon that month, right? Okay, so we got x-axis independent, y-axis dependent, and there we go with our variables, month and temperature. Okay, so we're just going to practice, and that's about it for graphing for today.